Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today I want to talk about the recent changes to Skull Merchant and just how I think of it and why, how not to fix a killer. Because I'm sorry, but these changes are not good at all. Now I can't couple good ones, but she's weaker than before, and she wasn't even she was like a low A to high B tier. So let's talk about the Skull Merchant changes, and yeah. So I'll pull up the changes right here. So as you can see, these are the changes. So the main points I want to talk about is that they did compensate with some buffs. So I'm happy with that. But the issue is, they got feedback from the PTB to compensate some buffs, but for some reason they decided to still nerf it. Why decorate the moon while deploying a, or when deploying a journal inspector narrator? Why? And why are fast walks no longer detected? That's just kind of ridiculous, honestly. These changes are not good or she didn't need to be nerfed in this. They could have just left the alpha. No, so I had to do this for some reason. So yeah, let's just talk about it and just why it's bad. First, let's just do a quick history lesson on why the Skull Merchant is controversial. So when Skull Merchant was first released, she could do a thing called free gen, which could hold 3 gens at the same time. Now, this was not good for game health, obviously, because that means that if you're a very smart killer, a lot of times you just win. Survivors can't actually do anything, and especially in solo queue, what can a survivors do in solo queue? They can't really do anything, can they? Even smart survivors, or the best of the best, they struggled against this killer. So yeah. So from the bat, she shouldn't have been released in her state that she was. I think everyone, even people who main this killer, can agree with that. The state she was released in at first was not good. And that's one of the reasons she gets as much hate as she does. It's because of that first version that is so negative for good reasons. And that because of that first version, it kind of became Skull Merchant's reputation now, even though she can't free gen anymore. So yeah, and because the recent Eruption and Eruption Core Brine Overcharge meta, her free gen strat got even more powerful, which basically made it kind of unwinnable a lot of the times. Alright, so yeah. But then a rework came out, and for some reason, some people were like, oh, no, she's weaker. No, she was if we look at it, sure, she can't free gen. She couldn't free gen anymore, but she wasn't weaker. She was actually much stronger. Previously, the first version of Skull Merchant, if you didn't do the free gen strat, she would be considered a high C to low B tier, I would say. But now with these changes, she's considered a high B to low A. And this rework accomplished a lot of good things. It made Skull Merchant actually more fun to play as, and yeah, and you could do some neat tricks with her. You could do some skull expression with her. So yeah, you can do that now. You could do that with the rework. Obviously, you need some buffs from the PTB because it was a bit, weaker than. It just needed a bit more buffs before it got released in the live version. But after that, she was fine. She definitely did need some tweaks to make it feel a bit better. First of all, the haste definitely shouldn't have been there. And yeah. But then we got to the recent changes to her. First we have the PTV version. And who thought this was a good idea? Seriously. This just gutted her for no reason. And it's only because she had the highest kill rate out of all killers, or a kill rate that's above what the average killer's kill rate should be. So yeah, and I'll explain to you why that's stupid. because it definitely is. Like, I'm sorry, but using kill rates is not really a good idea in the first place. So yeah, but they basically nerfed her because of her kill rate, and yeah, and she just got completely gutted. Some people said that she's worse than Freddy now. So like, yeah, like there was no like, that's not really how you fix a killer. But then we got now we got the recent change to her, and it's definitely better. But like, there was no reason to nerf her movement speed to 4.6, which is the same speed as Huntress. Like, why would you want to be slower than Huntress while using something that just, like, why? Like, yeah. And then this, like, it makes her power kind of useless at Shax now, because like fast vault, and like, what can you really do? Even if you could rotate your thing, if you could rotate your scan lines, or like your scanning with your drones, just fast vault and it just gets rid of it. So yeah, like, it just, there was like no reason to do it. Like, she needed tweaks to make them a bit more healthy, but like the way they did it was questionable. So let's just talk about now why using kill rates is a bad idea when deciding to fix a killer, or like doing tweaks to a killer. Now kill rates are not really useful a lot of the times. Like, you shouldn't even really use kill rates. Like, sure, it's fun to look at for those stats, but like most of the time you're going to be in solo queue. So killers that are weaker, like Myers for example, they're going to have higher kill rates because you're in solo queue. So that's kind of the issue. Like, you can't really use kill rates. Plus, with Skull Merchant, everyone just gave up against her. Now, you could make the argument that DCs don't impact the kill rates, and that is true. But people just gave up against her on Hook, which made her kill rate go even higher. Do you see the issue now? Like, because now kill rates are just not really, they're just not, like, it's like, they're not really useful actually when we take these things into consideration. Look at, just because it's a big number doesn't really mean anything a lot of the time, especially in something like a kill rate. Cause like, heck, like they have a consultant program, and yet I don't know if they actually listen to it, because like, did they actually listen to the consultant program? Or like, did they ask anything? Or like, ask any people who main this killer what to fix or something? Because like, it just doesn't seem like it. They just looked at her kill rate, saw it was high, and instead of like being like, why does she have a high kill rate? Or like what issues does it have that we should try fix while making her still the same strength level? And but they didn't really do either of that. They just looked at the kill rate, and like, they didn't really address a lot of the issues. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what issues did they address? Like, the only thing that I could say is like the haste, but like that's like, if that's the only thing that, yeah, it just feels odd. Like, haste being gone. Haste was, like, you already had hinted at Skull Merchant, so like, it's fine for haste to go, but like, why nerf hindered then? There was like no reason to nerf the hindered from like 10 to 5. Scanline, like, I don't mind the one scanline, because it actually makes her a bit more skill expressive, or like a bit like makes her skill floor and skill ceiling higher. But the issue was that they didn't compensate for it, and now even though they compensated for it, they now compensate for it. So I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine now. Like, I don't really care about that. But then it's like, just to nerf her stealth? Her stealth wasn't even that powerful. Like, most of the time it was a skill wish on survival spot. Like, I'm sorry, but if, like, the stealth part of her kit was a skill issue. I'm sorry, but it was. Like, yeah, like, that was just a skill issue, honestly. But now, even though, and the stuff hasn't even been reverted for some reason. So, like, why? Like, why? Like, it was just weird, to be honest. Like, there was, like, no reason to. Then with the other changes that she got, in the recent, like, patch notes about the nerfs, it's just weird, to be honest. Like, they're just, like, touching, like, they're just, like, touching stuff that is not even that big of a deal. Like, why did you need to touch the speed of, like, deploying a drone or, like, looking at your tracker? Because a lot of the times you have to use your tracker to not only track the survivors, but also to use it to rotate your drones. And now, like, your drones are kind of, like, not really good for windows. Like, if, like, Larry's, for example, the map that legit I'm on, imagine this. Larry's is, like, kind of like the window side of, Gideon. Like, instead of, like, a lot of pallets, there's a lot of windows. Like, a lot of windows. Like, so, yeah. And there's a lot of pallets connected to the windows. Like, so, yeah. Imagine that with these changes, like, what can you really do with a drone? Like, seriously, like, what can you really do? Because, like, fast forward, and it's like, yeah, fast forward, and you're just like, So, like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, why? Now, to anyone that's saying, well, Storm Merchant deserved it because she was able to free gen before. Be quiet. Seriously, like, she can't free gen anymore. Like, she can't. If you're that, like, she can't. Using just because she could free gen before doesn't mean she can now. That's like me saying that, oh, Trapper could place his traps under the hook so survivors could get trapped under the hook. And that was so painful, so he should get absolutely gutted even more. Even though he's like one of the weakest killers in the game. Do you not see, like, the logic in that? Because then, any personal bad experiences you have, the killer just should be gutted even if they can't do that anymore. Like, you can't, like, that logic doesn't really work, does it? Like, how? Like, tell me, like, how that works. Like, you can't really just say she should get out because of the free gen. It got fixed, so you have no way to have like no way to complain about that anymore. So it's like, if you complain about that, that just seems like your bias against her is so negative that you can't even, like, you're just so biased against her that you can't even see something that's objectively she can't even do anymore, and are trying to use it to hate her. Like, that, like, yeah, like, that's not, like, she can't do it anymore. So, like, if that's still in your perception of what she does, and you're just using this excuse just to hate on her, then, like, that's just kind of childish. I'm sorry, but she can't regen anymore, so complaining about that, it just is pointless. Another thing is that, a lot of people give up against her. Because she's not fun, and if you don't want to play against her, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with disliking a killer. But if you're just going to quit against her every time without trying to learn the counterplay, because, like, if she was really OP as a lot of people say she is for some reason, then why isn't she the best killer in the game if she's clearly OP? Or why shouldn't she an ST killer at all? Because she's not OP. She's a high B to low A. Well, now a C tier, but still, like, that doesn't make any sense. If you're not gonna learn that counterplay at all, or like try to learn at all, obviously you're not gonna have fun with her, like playing against her, because that's your own fault if you decide not to learn it. She's not that strong, and a lot of the times a lot of reasons she wins is because people give up against her. That's not really, like, her fault if you're just gonna give up against her every time. She might need tweaks, but, like, to like make it feel a bit more healthy and a bit more like better to play against, but like that just seems like if you're just gonna quit against it every match, and then yeah, like, and then these are like kind of same people complain about the DC penalty and like why it should be in the game. Well, if you're gonna DC every match against her, why do you think that's gonna be a DC penalty? Because you'll basically like think there might be a DC, there may be a bot, but like is the bot really as good as like a real player? Because the bot is like, the bot's not perfect at all. Like obviously the play's not perfect, like at all too, but like it's a bit more of a losing battle with the bots. But then if you decide to give up on the hook, you're putting your team at a massive disadvantage because yeah, I hate this killer, so screw my other teammates. Like, let me ask you, if you give up, like, aren't you screwing your own teammates? You say, yeah, I want my own fun. Go ahead, but doesn't mean it should be at the expense of other people. Like, shouldn't be at the expense of other people. Like, if you're just gonna DC, or like, give up, be careful sometimes, because like, you can't just get mad then if you complain about the DC penalty. Especially if you DC every time against her. Because otherwise, like, people just DC pretty much every match. Like, every killer, if there was no DC penalty, everyone would just DC. So, yeah, like, you can't really use the argument, well, I shouldn't have to play against the killer I don't like, so there shouldn't be any DC penalty. And then I won't have to give up. Because you can't really use that, can you? Another thing is that like, how it's like the best way to say this? People who say like there's like videos made by Pixel Brush, like any other skirmish, I mean, and when they're actually given good criticism to the changes, there are people being like, womp womp, cry more. Seriously, are you that childish? Why is it just because it's a killer you don't like doesn't mean they should be absolute gutted? Because then any killer could be gutted. Like, your clown, your xenomorph, your trapper, heck, even your Myers, who a lot of people, because, like, base kit, if he doesn't have his tombstone, he's considered the worst killer in the game. Then every killer would be nerfed, because you don't like them. Like, so, yeah. Plus, if you're saying cry more and whoomp whoomp, then don't get, like, mad if that happens, if people say the same thing to you, because, like, seriously, you're providing nothing good to this conversation. The only thing you're proving is that you're kind of childish and that you can't really have a good argument at all. So, yeah, like, you don't have to like a killer. You don't. I can see why people don't really like Skull Mission, and that's perfectly fine if you don't like facing against her. But, like, say because you dislike her, that she should be gutted, it's just, no. Like, I hate Xenobites. I hate facing Xenobites. But I'm not gonna ask for him to be gutted. Because, like, it'll just be screwing over his fanbase. Like, it'll just be screwing over his fanbase. Like, tell me how it doesn't. Like, asking for a kid to be gutted, you're just screwing over the other people's fanbase. The people, like, play that killer's fanbase. So, like, that's just ridiculous. Honestly, like, if you say to gut a killer, first of all, that's not really a good game balance, is it? Like, tell me how gutting a killer is good game balance. Because, like, they're so problematic or something, because, like, they're incredibly weak. Like, low tier killers are gonna be problematic because of how weak they are. Like, so, like, yeah, like, they're problematic in their own right. And plus, people are still gonna DC against, like, give up against Skull Merchant, so, like, yeah. It just gets ridiculous, honestly. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna say any of those, like, cry more, womp womp, you're 2 years old. You have, like, that just kind of shows that you don't really have any good arguments, and that it kind of shows that you have the mentality of a 2-year-old. Like, I'm sorry, but, like, what does that do? What does saying cry more or womp womp do? It does nothing to provide anything to the conversation other than, it got nerfed, but I don't care. Like, I'm sorry, but no. And, like, just in case to say, but just delete this killer then, if she's so problematic. First of all, this is a live service game. So like, you're gonna tell me you're gonna delete a character from a live service game? Like, are you serious? Don't you see how kind of ridiculous that sounds? And also, you'll just be, like I said earlier, you'll be screwing over your fan bases. Like, heck, even if you refund, like, everyone, like, the money, how are you going to be able to refund people who have grinded her? Like, you say that, heck, heck, they didn't even buy her, they, like, got her by iridescent shards. Well, how will they be refunded by iridescent shards? Because they'll just be like, okay, money, iridescent shards. So, like, yeah. Plus, like, blood points that people, like, some people, like, have grinded. Like, grinded her. For, like, with high levels. So, like, don't you see that you'll be screwing over the people who grinded this character? Like, how are they supposed to get refunded? A lot of blood points, but how much blood points? Like, you see that there's like a P100 skull merchant. How many blood points does that skull merchant get refunded? 1 million? No. 2 million? No, because like, they grinded that character so many times. It's like to the point that like, you have to give the people so much blood points. Plus, deleting them from the game does not fix the issue. Like, we're not fixing any issues here. Because that's going to be the next killer that people hate. Like, that does nothing to solve it. And plus, it didn't even, like, you should try and fix a killer. This does nothing to fix them. Like, instead of fixing the issues, you're just like, oh, but it's just deleted from the game. Because, like, no killer that's problematic can be fixed. Look, even though there's, like, examples of killers that were fixed. Like, Knight. Knight could legit regen as well. And now he's, like, in the best, like, now, in this current state, he's probably, like, the best he's ever been. Like, he's the best he's ever been. So they were able to fix him, and he's no longer problematic. So, like, why can't they fix Skull Merchant? Like, why? Like, why can they not fix it? Like, you can legit fix a killer, but the way they're doing it, it doesn't work. Like, the way they're fixing it, trying to, like, change it, it doesn't do anything to fix the issues that people have with her. So, like, yeah. And honestly, it's just, like, it doesn't do anything, does it? And now, and people even, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm sorry, but if you decide to insult anyone for playing a character, you are pathetic. I am sorry. But, like, if you're gonna say, screw people who play this character, they're like, you, like, decide to insult them for no reason because they're playing a character you don't like? Like, that's just sad. I'm sorry, but if you hate a character so much that you're willing to insult people for it, that's a personal issue that you need to sort out. Because like, you can't just insult people for playing a character they like. You don't have to like the killer or like the character, but like, do you think insulting them is a good idea? Because that just seems childish. And it just makes you seem like a 2-year-old who just doesn't get what they want, because it's just like insulting not only doesn't really do it. Like, if you're insulting anyone, like at all, basically, in an argument for like no reason, when they're like, yeah, or like just insulting people for no reason, that doesn't really prove your point. That just makes you seem desperate and just childish, because you're willing to insult people for playing a video game character. So now we've gone on that rant. What can we really do to make it so in the future that killers can actually be fixed properly, like fix the issues that they have, then the main issues that make them not really like healthier in some areas? But first of all, we will no longer look at kill rates when we're making a or just like trying to remake a killer. as we've seen, kill rates are not always like the most correct thing to use. Player feedback is better, and plus Behavior has a consultant program, so why? And like there's like people, and plus like they could like reach out to Skull Merchant mains and just say, but they actually can't. They can't though. They were able to reach like, they have like on YouTube, they legit have shorts. They have like YouTube shorts of players giving tips on certain killers. Why can't they find us, like, why can't they reach out to a Skull Merchant for balancing? So you can't really use that argument, can you? Plus some people like Pixel Brush are willing to. So like, yeah, so you can't use that argument. Second is, do not use Twitter when like trying to balance a killer. As we know, Twitter is not really the best place to go if you want to balance a killer, because some people on Twitter are questionable. Like heck. They would probably like even say that Demogorgon's an S-tier killer when he's not. Like, there are people who are gonna say stuff like this. So like, using it to balance a killer, like feedback from those, like sure, that definitely some people on Twitter who have actual good sense, or like good like, yeah, but like, what's like the best way to say this? Like, if you want to really get feedback from people on Twitter, make sure it's from people who make sense, and like, or like they're trying to give good valid criticism, because it's like these changes seems like they're trying to coddle bad players. And third, do not gut a killer when trying to fix them. Gutting a killer does not fix their issues, it creates new problems, because you're creating one of the weakest killers in the game. For example, this hasn't just happened with Skull Merchant. Like when she was in with a recent P2B. This has happened with Freddy. They didn't fix any of the issues that she had, so guess what happened to him? He got absolutely gutted. So gutting the killer does not fix those issues. I am sorry, but that is just bad balancing. And if you think otherwise, thank God you're not a developer, because that's just horrible game balance in any game. You don't just make things incredibly weak, or like just gut characters to balance them. Like, that just sounds silly, doesn't it? If you really think about it for like more than 2 seconds, doesn't that sound absolutely ridiculous? So yeah, and these are the main changes. So how would I want to change? Like how would I want to change how Skull Merchant plays? First of all, the buffs you got, I think we could keep the buffs. I think, first of all, like the buffs like you got to rotation speed is fine. We can get the one scan line because it increases her skill floor and ceiling. If you really want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Get rid of the haste, because the haste is actually not really that good for a Skull Merchant, because like I don't really want to discuss more about like that, but like listen to Pixel Brush if we actually want to find out why the haste is actually not really that useful for Skull Merchant. But yeah, get rid of the haste, because like the main issue with Skull Merchant was the haste. Make the hindered back to 10%. I don't know why it had to be nerfed in the first place. 8%, like 8%, like no, I'm sorry, but like 8%, like hinder should just not been nerfed in the first place. Get rid of the movement speed penalty when deploying a drone or using your tracker, and make it so you can actually track survivors when they like make sure that fast vaults are like revert like the whole fast vault thingy, and revert a whole stealth playstyle. She's supposed to be like trap killer, just because they say she isn't a trap killer because she has a radius on her traps. So does Hag, and yet she's considered a trap killer. She is a trap killer. You legit set up her drones. They're trap. They're like, she's not like the normal trap killer, but like she's like a different trap killer compared to those two. So like, yeah. So like, that's what I would want to do. But overall, these like, they almost did alright. But like, they should have better stuff and all that. But like, plus there was no reason to gut her. Like, she was not really considered like even powerful. Like, low A doesn't even mean you're like great. It just means like you're decent or like good. Like, so yeah, you're just like, yeah. But like, yeah, just don't go together in the first place if you want to fix them. Since, like I said, it just does nothing to really fix that issue, does it? Plus, like, you're kind of removing someone's skill expression from Skull Mission. Yes, you could say, but she doesn't have a skill expression. Yes, she does. Are you telling me that you can laser tag every game when you first pick her up? And can you tell me that you can rotate the scan lines perfectly when you first pick her up to actually get scans on the survivors? You're telling me you can do that easily? Like, when you first pick her up? Because that's a lie. Like, she's not like the easiest killer. She's not the easiest killer. She's not like the most difficult killer either. But like, she has skill expression. Saying otherwise is just blatant lying. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just blatant lying if you really think she doesn't have any skill. She clearly does. If you want to look at a killer who basically has like very low, like, I can think of like killers that have lower skill than her. Like Wraith. Wraith has lower skill than her, but he can still do pulls and skill expression. Like, so yeah. Legion is even more. Legion's even more easier. But like Legion's even more easier. So like, yeah, but they can still do skill expression. So like, how come Skull Merchant doesn't have any skill when she clearly does? There's legit a guide for her. Why do you think there's like more than an hour of a guide for her? It's because you say, well, those are just lies. You're telling me that you know more about a character than the person who made that guide. Like, you're telling me you have more information about the person who actually mains that character, made a guide about her. You say you know more about the character than that person. Because that just sounds silly. I'm sorry, but no. That just kind of seems like you have a big ego, honestly. So that's the end of the video. I'm sorry this was kind of being a negative one, but like, I think it's just getting kind of ridiculous that they keep looking at kill rates for the like change shankers. Like, it just gets ridiculous, and I think that people who say that's fine to gut a killer because the killer they don't like, that's ridiculous. Like all that. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Now, I do hope. Now, she is going to get a rework next year, and while we do have to wait a year, which sucks. Like, why can't they fix her now? Like, doing like the changes for now that people have recommended, and just get rid of like the unnecessary changes, like the nerfs to stealth tracker, the like movement speed or something, or any of that. And then we can wait a year if you really want to. But now we gotta wait a year, and now we have a C-tier killer. But people are still gonna play her, so yeah, so people are still gonna DC against her, so yeah. But yeah, that's the end of the video. So yeah, there will be more. Sorry, this like kind of being more negative, but like, yeah. Anyway, I will see you all next time. Au revoir and goodbye.